What is up, everybody? Welcome into this week's episode of It's Called Football on the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel. Jerry Walker, Jackson Fyda here, as always. Here to bring down some Premier League coverage this week. We have Champions League that we will touch a little bit on. One of the big Premier League teams had a outrageous collapse and is now on the verge of not even advancing to the next round as one of the top 24 teams, which is kind of absurd to think about. We will dive into that, but before we do that, look back at a couple matches from this past weekend because it was rather exciting, rather eventful, some upsets, some shocks, a lot of last-minute goals, and then we'll preview a couple matches this upcoming weekend. But before we do that, Jackson, how are you doing on this Thursday morning?
I'm good. No complaints. Yesterday, we'll talk about it a little bit, but it made things a little interesting and kind of fun for non-City fans. So, yeah, just to put it that way. But no, I'm doing good. Ready to talk some footy here. Had some good games, an unfortunate 2-2 draw that we need to dive into, but some good games nonetheless this past weekend to talk about.
Absolutely. And we will get to that 2-2 draw between Arsenal and Aston Villa in a second. But first, I think we're going to start out with Newcastle and Bournemouth. Newcastle been so dominant as of late. I think they've won, 9 in a row of their last 9. Alexander Isak's been on fire. Then they ran into the machine that is Bournemouth. Absolute factory. Kluivert, hat trick. Kirksig got a goal in the 95th minute or 96th minute. Bournemouth win 4-1 at Newcastle. What did you think about that one? Because I was just kind of in shock seeing the way they played. And they had a goal rule that Bournemouth had a 5th one ruled out for VAR. Players were playing well. Shout out to Tyler Adams, U.S. International former Leeds guy that got a couple assists and a yellow card. But what did you think of this match?
It was shocking. Like, honestly, that was the only way to put it. You didn't expect that. But the way Newcastle's been playing, with the form that they've been in, you kind of just figured they'd roll, especially at home. And they found themselves down after 6 minutes. Kluivert had an unbelievable game. I know Tyler Adams got the assist on his 3rd goal, but he didn't know much about that. He literally just intercepted it, went right to him, and he hit an absolute worldie of a goal. I mean, perfect. Bending away from the keeper right in this side netting was the perfect way to make it. At that point, it felt like it was the end of the game. There's obviously another goal that came, but that 3-1 just put it out of reach. It was beautiful. Kluivert had an unbelievable day. And he had a hat trick earlier this year, a hat trick of penalties. So it's kind of interesting to see him actually he did get one, but he did get a hat trick with some actual real goals as well. So he's been having a good season. I don't think that's been talked about as much. Kluivert has had a very, very good season. And he had a very, very good
game. 10 goals this season.
So that's really good for a non-striker. Well, I guess he is like a forward player, but you know what I mean. He's not like a Holland. You put him up top and expect him to score. He's more of a creator. In this game, he was playing more like an attacking mid kind of role, and he was just banging in goals.
It seems like he plays a similar role that Jude Bellingham does in Real Madrid in a way, where he's kind of just sits a little behind that striker and does just as much damage controlling going forward. And I mean, I just can't believe what I saw over the weekend. It was just insane that Newcastle, who had won 9 in a row across all competitions, looked that bad at home and were just purely dominated by Bournemouth, who, fair play to Bournemouth, they're currently 7th in the table, only 1 point behind Newcastle at the moment. But it's still one that you don't expect to see, and it's kind of shocking considered. But I mean, it's the Premier League. Stuff like this happens. But it's fair play to both. Fair play to Bournemouth. We talked about Kluivert, and now they have another big match this upcoming weekend, Nottingham Forest. Then they play Liverpool. So they have a very big stretch of games where they play 3 of the top 6 teams. And if you get one more win, not saying they will against Forest or Liverpool, do you start rating Bournemouth as a team that can compete and try and get to European football next year? Because they are, like I said, 7th in the table. Point back at City and Newcastle, 3 back of Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, even at this point. Like you said, tough little stretch coming up. If you include this Newcastle game, you got Newcastle, Bournemouth,
Mhm.
Liverpool. That's really tough. They already got 3 points, right? So even if they go on and don't get any more points from the next 2 of those tough games, you still got 3 points from Newcastle game. That's a victory, right? You take that. Even now, I think you gotta consider them. They're in 7th place, 37 points. They're right there. They're only 3 points back from Champions League. So they definitely are, and we'll see what happens with these next games. But even if they lose those games, they're still in a spot where they can continue to compete for these European spots, right? Because everyone else is going to have to play tough teams. So they'll be able, even if they fall a little bit in the points, some teams right behind them are really close. Like Villa's 1 point back, Brighton's I think 3 points back. So
Mhm.
even if they drop behind some of these teams, they're still going to be in a position where they can continue to compete for European football. So it's crazy we're saying this because I remember Bournemouth just a few years ago how dire they looked,
Yeah.
and now they've put together an insanely good squad. And we've talked about other teams kind of building for a while, but I think the job Bournemouth has done has been pretty phenomenal with the players they brought in. I didn't know how Tyler Adams would work out. He got injured for a while, but when he plays, he is damn good.
Oh,
Foyvert has been very, very team. So as Semenyo. So they've gotten some
oh,
Wi-Fi again.
there we go.
Yeah. But Bournemouth has brought some very good pieces in. I think it's kind of understated how much they've developed in a few years. And they've got a great manager on top of that as well in Areola.
Yeah, I was about to say
You're right.
Ariel. He has been superb since he came in to manage them. Just what was it last season? I think he came in after managing Rayo
Mhm.
Vallecano, or manage. Yeah, I think it was Rayo Vallecano in La Liga. But
Mhm.
and they did it with so many players out this week. I'm looking at the injury list they had for it. There's about 9 or 10 different players that are out injured, and they still found a way to do it. I got to give a shout out to Arisba or Kepa, because I'm not going to try and pronounce his name at the moment.
Kepa
Kepa
Arrizabalaga.
Ingo, who has been playing really well recently, kind of under the radar. Everyone still
Mhm.
remembers him in his time at Chelsea and how that kind of fell apart at the end. But the job he did, Dean Huijsen, Ilya Zabarini,
Mhm.
2 center backs, did a great job shutting down Alexander Isak because Isak has been superb recently. We've talked about it time and time again on this show. And just stopping him, stopping that entire Newcastle attack that has just been ruthless recently was very impressive. So
Mhm.
fair play to Bournemouth. You have any final thoughts on this one before we move on?
Disappointed with Newcastle because it just seemed like they were finally motoring, and it didn't really look like anyone was going to be able to stop them. But eventually you're going to lose, right?
Yeah.
Sucks I was at home and it sucks it was by 3 goals, but I think Newcastle will recover. Everyone needs a bad game. You're there to wake them up. So I wouldn't be overly concerned. And if I'm Bournemouth, I'm excited because we just beat a team that at that point was top 4 basically and on the road. So you can definitely compete if you're Bournemouth. So
I will
positive
just
take for Bournemouth.
I will say this puts a little bit of pressure on Newcastle. They do have Southampton and Fulham in their next 2 league matches, but after that it's Man City, Forest, and Liverpool.
Mhm.
With being away to both City and Liverpool, so a little bit of a very tough stretch right there, but getting 3 points in the next 2 would be huge for them. Plus, they have the EFL second leg semifinal match against Arsenal at home. Go to Birmingham City in the FA Cup. A lot of footy over the next few weeks for the
Hmm.
Geordies. Speaking of Arsenal, you mentioned it earlier. 2-2 with Aston Villa. What was your reaction to this one? Because Arsenal goes up 2-0. Martinelli and then Havertz both get the goals, 35th and 55th minute, respectively. But 5 minutes later, Tielemans gets Villa on the score sheet. And then 8 minutes after that, Ollie Watkins levels the game. And at that point, it seemed like Villa had all the momentum, were kind of storming forward, but no one could get the final breakthrough. But what was your kind of reaction to this one for Arsenal and Aston Villa?
Disappointing, mainly because dominating the game, you're up 2-0. You just got to see it out, right? You got to see it out. And fair play to both of those balls in. That the assists for Aston Villa were phenomenal. Tielemans with the diving header, and then that ball from Matty Cash to Ollie Watkins was perfect. Thomas Partey messed that up horribly. He stepped. I don't know what he was doing. Just let Watkins be wide open. Say what you want about that, but that ball was perfect. I remember watching that like, wow. All right. But it's disappointing because you're up 2-0. You're dominating the game. Arsenal dominated the game. They had possession. They had more chances. At that point, it felt very comfortable. So it's disappointing because you got to be able to see that out. That's what teams who want to compete for titles do. You see those kinds of games out when you have that advantage. And don't get me wrong, Villa's a very good team, very good players. Tielemans, Watkins are both very, very good players. So not taking anything away from them and saying Arsenal should have just shut the door on them completely. Like, they obviously have the talent to get back into that, as they showed. But if you're Arsenal, you got to see it out, especially with a team that's been so solid defensively all season. You can't let a team like that get back in. And that's what was frustrating. I think you should have seen more from certain players as well. I still want to see Kai Havertz do a little bit more. It seems like he always has some very clear chances to score goals and just doesn't do it. I need to see him score.
And he obviously did score one today or the other day, but he also had the one for VAR that was called back. Did you think that was the right call by VAR?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It was unfortunate, but it was a handball. And the rule is, if it hits your hand, it can't go in, right? Even if it is incidental, like, it wouldn't be a handball if you're defending. Even if it hits your hand, it goes in. It by rule, it can't be a goal. So there's no complaints on that. That's just kind of how it is. It was unfortunate that it did that, but there's no complaint. That was the right call.
Yeah, and then from the Aston Villa side, I'll hop in a bit there. They did get kind of outclassed this entire game. Dominated in possession, 66-34%. Outshot 6-4 on target, and what was it, 8 for Aston Villa and 18 for Arsenal total shots. Yet they still found a way to fight back and get gritty or grind out a 2-2 draw. A little bit of luck here and there, but they also stopped Arsenal scoring off a corner. Arsenal had 10 corners. We know how good they've been at that all season. Props to Aston Villa for kind of keeping it away and holding strong in the set pieces.
Mm-hmm. Now, and you got to be happy with this, because in a game on the road where you're outplayed and you're able to get a point out of it, that's a great sign, right? Because that shows the resolve that your players have if you're Unai Emery. So he's got to be ecstatic about that, to come back and get that 2-2 draw in a game where you didn't deserve a point based on how the flow of the game been going. You've been outplayed. By the end of the day, it's not how soccer works, and that's what we love about this game. You can be dominating the whole game and then lose, right? And that's kind of it. Arsenal didn't lose, but that's kind of what happened here. Dominated, you're up 2-0. And Villa, they've got quality. They got their chances and they buried them and got 2-2. So from a Villa perspective, that's an awesome, awesome result. You're still right in there for the European and Champions League spots as well. I think 4 points back right now from fourth place. So they're right in it as well. It's a great result for them. And it's one that they can build confidence on. Came back down 2-0, could carry that momentum into this week. So from a Villa perspective, they got to be ecstatic about that, but very disappointing from Arsenal's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're in some sort of title race or European race, you expect to win these kind of games when you're up 2-0. These are ones that you look back at the end of the season, and now it's a 6-point gap. If Liverpool wins their match in hand, 9-point gap.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating, I bet, from that side of things for Arsenal, where it's you are so close. You are dominating. You should just put this game away. And I see it time and time again with Leeds, where you're up and you let the team kind of get back into it, and then suddenly a switch flips and the game's turned upside down on its head. And that's what happened here. So.
Yeah, it sucks. And reality is, at a certain point, if you want to make this a title race, you got to start closing, right? Liverpool drops points, you got to close. I haven't really seen that. It feels like it's been a 9-point if they win their game in hand gap for the longest time right now. Like every day fluctuates a little bit. Got it down to a 4-point gap, 7 if they win their match in hand. But it just always kind of finds its way back to this 9-point gap if they win that game against Everton. And honestly, at a certain point, it'll get too much to overcome. It's not there yet. Liverpool's got tough games coming up. They basically got to play everyone who's good again. But again, at a certain point, you got to start closing. The reality is Arsenal's going to drop more points throughout this season, which is why I just, at this point, it really feels like it'll be difficult to catch Liverpool, especially with what they did this weekend, showing that kind of resolve that they have.
So I guess off of the back of that, just a question for you. Because Arsenal and Forest are both tied with 44 points. Like we said, 6 back of Liverpool, 9 with the in-hand stuff. Who do you think is a better chance of catching Liverpool of those two?
I'd have to say Arsenal, mainly because, A, they play Liverpool again.
Yeah.
So they can kind of control that a little bit. And also, I do think Arsenal does have a more talented title-winning potential squad than Forest, which, again, no disrespect to Forest. We have
You don't trust Chris Wood to be the –
dude, honestly, at this point, who knows, right? We've disrespected them on this show countless times this season. So who knows, right? Maybe I could be completely wrong and Forrest gets it done. And I would actually be okay with that if that were to happen, just throwing that out there. But I think Arsenal is, again, they play Liverpool. It is on the road. It's going to be tough, but they do play Liverpool. So right there, that's a huge chance to make a big swing. You gain 3 points, they lose 3 points, basically. That would be huge. And also, the quality in the squad is what I think is going to make the difference. But you got to remember this, Arsenal does have Champions League going on. They're going to have other considerations. Forest does not. They can put it all into this, right? Unless they might still be in the FA Cup. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
They are still in the FA Cup. They play Exeter City.
So there you go. They have that one, but the FA Cup's a little different than the Premier League in terms of how the scheduling works and obviously the quality of teams you're going to play. Example, Exeter.
Mm-hmm.
So that could work in Forest advantage as well. Arsenal at a certain point might look and say, we're having a good run in the Champions League. Let's lock it in, right? This is our chance to go and do this. Whereas Forest can just keep going with the Premier League. So there is a chance that Forest is the more competitive team, right? And we've seen them constantly prove us wrong all year. They've been performing well. So I wouldn't be incredibly shocked if that were to happen, but I do think Arsenal's got the better chance, especially because they still have that Liverpool game to go.
I agree with you. I do think Arsenal has the slight advantage. My concern, and it's also something that we talked about before on here, it's the missing and the lack of Bukayo Saka.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know when he's supposed to come back? I thought it was a few more weeks.
Yeah, I think it's a few more weeks. Let's see if we can get a specific here.
But that one's brutal. Now Gabby Jesus is out, I think, for the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, he's out till the very end.
Yeah, there go 2 of your strongest attackers going forward. And nothing against like Trossard, Havertz, and Martinelli, but it's not the same as having a Saka and a Jesus. And I'm not saying that Gabby Jesus scores a ton of goals, but he causes enough chaos that allows other players to get in behind and put the ball away, or he makes a good pass. And one of those things that he just flows with the way that Arsenal plays. Bukayo Saka, a star boy.
It's out till March.
Yeah.
And it hasn't changed. I was looking to see if it had changed.
I thought it was
out till March. So we got a month. We've got a month, and there are some big games in that month.
Yes, there are for Arsenal. Just pulling up the fixtures. You have, as far as Premier League goes, home to Man City, still have to play away to Forest, away to Man U, and then I guess Man U's the first week of March, and then the second week of March, home to Chelsea. Yeah. He's back by then. And it's not like he'll be back and in full form and fully fit. So it's one of those things. And then you look at it, it's a brutal end of the season as well. At Liverpool, home to Newcastle, and then at Southampton to finish.
Yeah.
But Southampton at that time could be down already. They could be fighting to stay up, and could be one of those ones that somewhat of a trap game.
Yeah, a lot of tough footy to go, right?
Oh,
And
yeah, we have a while. And as you put it, pretty much every team has played 22 matches, so they still have to play a bunch of other teams still.
Yeah.
So
you basically have to play everyone again for the most part, minus like 3 games.
yeah, and then you play 16 more each. So
Mhm.
well, there we have it on that one. Other North London team. Oh, good God, Tottenham, what's happening to
It's
you?
the gift that keeps on giving right now.
Oh, it's so comical and it's so bad. They lose 3-2 to Everton at Everton. 3-0 at halftime. Archie Gray scores an own goal just before in the final kick of the game or the half. They do get 2 back. Kuleveski scores in the 77th, and then Richarlison, of all people, gets a goal in stoppage time of the second half. But this is so bad for Tottenham. They're now – because, I mean, Everton's not a good team. Everton is 20 points. They're 4 points clear of the relegation zone. They're also now 4 points behind Tottenham. Tottenham only 8 points clear. They've just been a shell of themselves, shell of what we expected, and it's just terrible to see on that side of things. It's very funny from just a neutral football fan side of things, but this is one that you cannot lose if you're Tottenham.
No, and it was comically bad in that first half.
Yeah.
The defending on that Calvert-Lewin goal was atrocious. It was very well taken by Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
Great goal, great footwork, but comical defending. And then you let 2 more go against you in the first half. You're down 3-0 at a team who you continuously rag on and despise. And they were down 3-0 at halftime to them.
Yeah.
A team that we keep thinking is going to go down at some point. Scored 3 goals in the first half on Tottenham. That was just, from a Tottenham perspective, awful to watch. And then you get the goal in the 77th, and then Richarlison at the very end makes it 3-2. It wasn't a game. It was not a game at all. As soon as it became 2-0, it was not a game. It's kind of how it felt.
And let me put it this way. Only 2 other times has Everton scored 3 or more goals this season across all competitions. They did a 3-0 win against Doncaster Rovers in the EFL Cup. For reference, Doncaster's playing in League 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they did win 4-0 against Wolves. Wolves are likely going to get relegated.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is Tottenham is the same quality. And fair play, they did get 2 goals at the end, yada, yada, garbage time goals. Doesn't help anyone really in the grand scheme of things, but Tottenham is the same level as a relegation side and a League 2 side. With that being said, they did almost lose to Tramworth in the FA Cup, which would have been wonderful.
Lamb ground.
Oh my God, that would have been hilarious. And it's crazy because the first time these 2 teams played this season, it was the absolute opposite. I think Tottenham won 4-0, second match of the season. Pure domination, and that's kind of what I expected coming into this. But Everton was just so much better, and Tottenham, I guess it's not even Everton was great. It was Tottenham was just so bad. Here we go.
Are we back?
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those days.
Sorry, this is definitely
Dad, you are all good.
definitely on my end.
Don't even fret about it. It is what it is.
Ugh.
Kind of like Tottenham's performance. It doesn't seem like anyone really cares. It just happens, and we're all kind of sitting on the sidelines just chuckling away to ourselves.
Jeez, come on.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
you were. I can hear you. I can see you moving.
Yeah, okay. I'm having it's definitely on my end. It's the damn home internet.
Hey, it is all. It's fine.
Maybe I might try something here.
We'll do that. I'm gonna just ramble about some other Tottenham and Everton stuff, I guess. Should be funny. I mean, or more. I'll give a preview of the game upcoming this week that we're not going to talk about. Leeds, Burnley, as you can see, SCO Leeds. top of the table clash. One of these teams will likely get promoted. One, if it goes to the playoff, we know Leeds won't. But at the same time, it could be Everton. It could be Tottenham whose place they're taking. Relegation zone is getting very, very close and gritty. Everton, like I said, 4 points clear of both Wolves and Ipswich. Those two teams have 16 points each. Leicester has 14, sitting in 19th, and Southampton is 6 points, which is so bad. But 6 points, not much they can really do about it. I think Southampton's all but down already, and Jackson is back.
Yeah.
I'm just rambling about the relegation zone, honestly.
No, you're fine. This is what I get for doing it up here, man. The Wi-Fi just doesn't work. I don't know what's going on.
You have a beautiful view out your window.
Yeah, got the view and everything.
So hard to complain about that.
Yeah. All right. We're back, though. We're back.
Hey, do you have any other thoughts on this Everton and Tottenham match before we move on to another comical team?
Ange, his seat is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. The only thing saving him, I think, right now is the League Cup. Straight up. I think it's literally just the League Cup. Without that, I think he already would have been gone because they right now are sitting in 5th, that far above the relegation zone. It's just been a comically bad season. I like to describe them as a comically bad team. It has just been one of those years. They look awful.
Yeah, you can change the players, you can change the manager, you cannot change what Tottenham always does, and that's not win trophies. But hey, it is what it is for the Spurs fans out there. Could be worse. Could be a Man U fan at the moment. Going to move into that one. Man U hosted Brighton, and let's just say it got off to a rough start for Man U. 5 minutes in, Minta gets a goal. Matoma gets one in the 60th. Jorginho Reuter scored a beautiful goal in the 75th minute. Bruno Fernandes for Man U did get one in the 23rd, but it was a penalty. Shocker, who would have thought that? Could have been the second goal could have come a little earlier for Brighton. They did have a goal ruled out by VAR, but it was just an atrocious performance by Man U. It was bad. They scored 100% of both teams scored 100% of the shots they had on target. So that's something to the goalkeeper's point of view where you're like, we don't have a single save. Jackson's might be frozen again on my side of things, but there we go. Because it's just me at the moment, folks. Man U Brighton was so funny because Man U's another team. Jackson was just saying how Ange might be in the hot seat. I'm wondering how Ruben at Miriam if he's already getting into a hot seat. Doesn't make sense. So they go and just fall apart, which I love to see. I think it's just entertaining, and Man U just completely collapsed once again, losing 3-1 to Brighton and just being dominated in virtually every aspect of the game. Possession, they just edged them out, but shots on target was less. Total shots, they did have more, but those other shots were not hitting the woodwork. Other players, I think they were going into the crowd more often than not, looking like an NFL kicker out there. But Jackson, now that you're back, Man U Brighton, another terrible, terrible performance by a team that should be doing so much better than they are.
Yeah.
Brighton should have just won 5 or 6-1.
It's just every time with Man U as well. Like, it's so disappointing from the perspective of you bring in Ruben Amorim and you think things are going to turn around. And now you've got him smashing the TV in the locker room after the game because of how bad.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Yeah, that got leaked, presumably by someone who wants out.
Sounds like a Garnacho type move. Or Marcus Rashford, who's also rumored to be leaving.
It's just from a Man U perspective, it's just been nonstop disappointment this season. And this game was a perfect example of it. Losing like that at home to a team that with the talent, with like the level of talent you got with your players, you should win that game, especially at home, right? Brighton's a very good team. They've got very good players, but they got worked. Matoma had a very good game, by the way. On that one, what was it? That one assist, the way he took the ball out of the air was spectacular. When he's healthy, he's an unreal kind of player. But you, you can't have that, right? And you actually had more shots than Brighton had.
Yeah.
You only had one on target, though. 10% of your shots are on target. That's it. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. And they need to do some business, right, in this winter transfer window. And they need to get on it fast.
Yeah, I mean, we have, 8 days or 7.5 days left in the transfer window. It's not going to – and I haven't seen anything from Man U about any rumors of going and buying players. It's all, okay, Garnacho's going to leave. Rashford wants to leave.
Antony's gone.
Antony is gone, which that's the kind of player that I know he's not been great, but he brings at least a different type of creativity to the team. It's just not good enough from the rest of the players, especially attacking. When your only goal is a penalty, you know you're doing something wrong. And that might have been the only shot they had on target was that penalty.
Yeah, it was. It was. That's what they got.
That's bad. That is so, so bad. Onana looks like Onana's a mess. The back three is not working out. Also, when it's Lenny Yoro, Mateus de Ligt, and Harry Maguire. Give me that back three like 3.5, 4 years ago. Now it just seems like they don't know what they're doing. And it's just chaos. The midfield's just as bad. I mean, this was a team that was getting dominated by a team that starts Danny Welbeck up top. And sadly, he was injured, but James Milner is on the bench usually. It's a guy they just got in Jorginho Rutter, who came up from a championship level team, who scores a great goal against them. It's just bad. And on the other side, Brighton completely doing a great job this season, sitting in ninth, 34 points, only 4 back of Man City and Newcastle for 5th and 6th place, respectively. And I feel like they're not getting enough credit just because there are other teams like Forest, Bournemouth, who are kind of surprising everyone instead. That this Brighton team who, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they started the season out really hot and kind of fell off. Yeah. So they did what we thought Forest was going to do.
Yeah, they basically did. And I still can't believe, just a little aside, that Forest is doing what they're doing and they've maintained it. It's still phenomenal and unbelievable and just so impressive. But yeah, Brighton did. And a very good team. But you mentioned that some of the guys they have are has-beens, right? Danny Welbeck's a has-been. Milner's a has-been. They still perform, but they're towards the very end of their career. They've been with the big clubs. They've played for England on the international stage. All that's done. Now they're just kind of enjoying their last few years before retirement. Man U is supposed to be a team that's moving towards the future, right?
Yeah.
And they just get outplayed.
Yeah, mollywopped.
I mean, you got Giallo, who's for the future. Xerxes for the future. Ugarte's still for the future. He's relatively young. Mainu's for the future. Yoro's for the future. You've got a lot of that. Garnacho. All of those players are future looking, and you're just getting outplayed by teams that focus on has-beens.
Yeah, I mean, here's another one who I think he found Xerxes and Diallo in his pocket, but Lewis Dunk, another guy who's been around forever. He's 33 years old. Welbeck's 34, Milner's 39.
Yeah.
This is a team of veterans. Other side, Minta, 20 years old. Matoma's only 27. They do have some younger guys as well. But still, this should not be this dominant at Old Trafford as well.
Yeah.
We do have, unless you have any other thoughts on this one, we're going to move into the final match. We're going to looking over this one.
I got to turn on the light or something. I don't know if this lighting something messed up now too. Just nothing but It's disaster today.
Let's put it this way. Since we started the show a season and a half ago, we've had very, very few technical issues.
Today is the day.
We were due. So
today is the day. Wi-Fi, and then just getting absolutely beamed by the sun right now.
Yeah.
It's just one of those days.
It is indeed. And it was one of those days for Brentford as well. They were just dominated every single aspect of that game. Total shots, let's put it this way. Brentford had 11. Liverpool had 15 shots blocked, 14 shots that were not on target, and 8 that were on target. Put that together, that's 37 shots that they had to Brentford's 8. Or to 11. What do you expect to happen? 5, 6-0? No, it was 0-0 going into stoppage time. And the super sub, Darwin Nunez,
the most unexpected of sources to do this,
has himself a hell of a 3-minute stretch. First of all, it came on in the 65th minute, replacing Luis Diaz, who didn't do anything the entire first half, apart from his typical kick the ball into not the goal. But Darwin Nunez, 91st minute, gets a goal. He also gets a yellow card, which I'm pretty sure was for taking it for his celebration after. Then 2 minutes later, he gets a second to give Liverpool the 2-0 win. What was your reaction to this one? Because it was something.
I mean, I was really hopeful, right? Brentford played a phenomenal game defensively just to still be in it at that point. Because, as you said, you would have expected Liverpool to have gone on and won that game by a lot. But Brentford was right in it. They were right in it. And then the Nunez goals, man, I mean, they were well taken. I think the second one especially was one of the most well-taken finishes I've seen from Darwin Nunez in freaking forever. I feel like those are the kinds that he usually hits the post on or puts wide. So, I mean, fair play to him. He had himself a remarkable impact coming off the bench, and they needed it. They needed it desperately. Because at that point, if they had dropped points in that game, it could have been a 3-point gap. With Arsenal, if they had won and gotten all their points, wait, no. That math doesn't add up. The math isn't mathing on that. But Arsenal would have been – it's early.
Yeah,
Arsenal would have been closer.
So, yeah, we'll take the 2 points back and give Arsenal 2 more points.
Yeah.
48, 46. It'd be a 2-point difference.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I was sitting here, I'm like, wait, no, that's just not how numbers work. But, yeah, so it would have put some serious pressure on them, right? And as you said, I mean, 37 shots is insane.
Absurd.
It's an insane amount.
I think that
Brentford got 11, which is pretty decent for a team on the road. Like, don't get me wrong.
They were at home, Brentford. So
that's what I meant. So they actually,
and it's not like they have bad players either. Mbumo and Visa, we've talked about them time and time again. They're putting the ball away. Yet it wasn't them who were able to break it. It wasn't Mo Salah, who we see score game in, game out. Gakpo, Diaz, all these guys. It was Darwin Nunez. As you mentioned, he's the guy who always hits the post, always misses open nets. But he was the hero Liverpool needed in this moment.
Yeah, he stepped up. And they needed someone to, and it was Darwin Nunez. So fair play. And that right there is how you win titles. You have guys who maybe they've been down on their luck like Nunez oftentimes is in front of goal. But when you need him most, when it's tough, when you're tied 0-0 with Brentford, he steps up. Someone steps up. That's what title-winning teams do. That's what title-winning teams have. And that's what we saw. That's what we saw from them. And that's why if you're a Liverpool fan, you got to be so happy and confident after that because it was tough. It looked like you were only going to get a point out of it, but someone stepped up.
Yep. And I mean, it ended up not being the only time someone stepped up late on for Liverpool this week. Unless you have any thoughts on anything else Premier League, I'm going to hop us over to the Champions League that just happened this week. But Liverpool, Mo Salah up 1-0. Jonathan David, of all people, gets a goal shortly after Lille go down to 10 men. And then it was Harvey Elliott the guy who came on at halftime, who gets the winner for Liverpool to beat Lille, and still virtually, unless they lose and Barcelona wins, Liverpool will finish as the top team in the Champions League new group stage. Meanwhile, the other Premier League teams, I'll let you take over for Arsenal. How did they do? How did that match look against Dynamo Zagreb?
Yeah, I wasn't really able to watch it live. I had just Paramount Plus is killing me when I'm away from my apartment in St. Mary's. We don't have it, so I was trying to find some way to watch it. I ended up just kind of having to do the Apple Sports app where it just gives you live second-to-second updates. Keep an eye on that. But it's good, right? 3-0 win. Pretty solid right there. Looking pretty good in the Champions League now.
Did that qualify Arsenal? No, it didn't qualify Arsenal for the bye round.
No, it's
there are 3 points clear. You need a draw, I believe.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, we should be good, to get that bye, which is very good. I know Arsenal fans might be a little disappointed with the fact that we're not on top of the Premier League title right now, the table right now, but Champions League kind of doing very well. So could be very happy with that. Just, like you said, tie and get a bye into the round of 16, which would be massive.
Yeah, and you play Girona next, to his 1 win and 6 losses so far.
Yeah.
So there's that. The other 2 Premier League teams did not have as successful of a week. Aston Villa lost 1-0 to Monaco after an 8th-minute goal from Wilfried Singo. That one was just disappointing to me. Monaco, they are sitting 4th in Liga, but this is one that the way Aston Villa played the first half of their Champions League fixtures, I expected more.
Yeah.
They went 3-0 without conceding, still ended up winning just one of their 4 recent ones. Have Celtic next, which that will not be an easy match.
Celtic's good.
Celtic's been looking very, very good recently. Beat Young Boys with an own goal. I believe they're running through the table in Scotland. Yep. 13 points clear of Rangers, who play Man U today. So fingers crossed the Scots can actually get one done.
American center back partnership as well.
Oh, for Rangers?
For Celtic.
Oh, for Celtic?
Austin Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers have been very solid for them this season.
Good to know then. I assume they weren't playing against Costa Rica the other day, but
no, that was
who was playing for the U.S. team?
We had all MLS players basically.
Okay.
Tim Ream started. We started Zimmerman and Robinson. So some veteran MLS guys, and then some younger guys. I think, the one who's most impressive, just again tangent here, but his name's Agumang. He was
the one who scored late, wasn't he?
Yeah, he started his career playing D3 soccer. Transferred to Rhode Island and now is killing it for Charlotte. And he was the most impressive player in the camp, which goes to show, you could still find some diamonds in the rough in college soccer. I know a lot of people want to move away from it, but for some people, that's a perfect development spot for a guy like him who's big, athletic, is exactly what he needed.
Is he what, winger, midfield?
Striker. Yeah.
And hey, speaking of Charlotte, as this is usually a Premier League show, Wilfried Zaha, a name for the ages. Crystal Palace's cult hero, played for Man U a bit, but I always think of him as a Crystal Palace and Ivory Coast forward going to Charlotte. That'll be interesting. That'll be fun to see. We'll now see if Neymar goes to Chicago Fire or not. I would doubt it. I think he's going to Santos.
Yeah, he's going to Santos.
But back to Champions League, and I just want to put this out there for the Europa League live update. Tottenham are actually winning a game.
There you go.
Took them 3 minutes for James Maddison to score against Hoffenheim. A win's a win, though, or a goal's a goal. Man City knew a lot about having leads in their Champions League this week. Jack Grealish, Erling Haaland, 2 goals in 3 minutes, 50th, 53rd, 2-0 up. I'm thinking, oh, God, Man City's going to sail. PSG have been terrible. Both of these teams were right on the cusp of missing out on advancing altogether. Then something happened in Paris. Don't know what happened. I don't know what was in the French air. Dembele gets a goal in the 56th. 4 minutes later, Barcola gets a goal. So now we're level. João Neves, 78th minute, gives PSG a 3-2 lead. And one of the virtually last kicks of the game, Gonzalo Ramos, makes it 4-2. This might be the worst collapse I've seen for Man City this season.
Yeah.
And they've had collapses time and time again. But this was terrible considering the opposition, the stakes at hand. What did you think when you saw that PSG came back from 2-0 down?
You put it best when you talked about the stakes at hand and why this is so dire. Because they were in a spot where PSG, heading into this match day, were outside of the top 24. City was right there, just barely ahead of them. So this was a huge game with huge implications. And City had it. But then after that, PSG kicked their ass. And you look at the final statistics,
it was,
I think, 26 shots, 9 on target. City had 9, 6 on target. And PSG basically had 2/3 of the possession. You don't see that against City that often.
Ooh.
Yeah, they kicked their ass. And they deserve it, right? They deserve it. They balled out when they needed to. They were down 2-0. Didn't let that bring them down. Quickly got a goal back 3 minutes after City got their second. Dembele got the first for PSG. And they just ran with them. And this is just another example of Man City's defending, letting them down.
And what do they go and do a few days around the exact same time? They sell off Kyle Walker to AC Milan.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to help your defensive issues all that much.
No, it will not.
Just putting that out there. But it was also great substitutions by Luis Enrique. Brings on Dembele at halftime. Dembele gets the first goal for him. Brings on Gonzalo Ramos about halfway through the second half. Ultimately gets the goal that's the nail in the coffin. And that was almost ruled off or out by VAR. Ended up being a good goal. And there we have it. PSG 4-2. Man City in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
Man City are 2 points back of Stuttgart and Sporting and PSG and Benfica for that last spot. They also have to play Club Bruges. Bruges is sitting 3 points ahead of them. But Bruges is intriguing me because of what they did in their last and some of their other Champions League matches. They beat Sporting. They beat Aston Villa. They did lose to Dortmund and AC Milan, which, given that, they drew with a good Celtic team, as you were saying. And somehow, some way, the most exciting match of the week, they drew 0-0 with Juventus this week, holding Juventus to a single shot on target. With that being said, they didn't have any themselves, didn't have a single shot on target, but this is a team that is playing solely with one purpose. We're not going to let you score, and we're going to just sit back, defend, and make this a nasty, gross game. And if they do that against City, I can see City implode a little bit. And who knows? Maybe they won't be advancing to the next stage.
They need to win.
And even if they do, I'm assuming it's – I mean, I could be completely wrong. I'm assuming it's seeded-wise. Or is it just a random draw? Do you know?
I think it's seeded. I was literally just thinking this earlier when we were talking about Liverpool getting first, if that makes a huge difference. I think it's seeded, but I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that. We're all still getting used to this new format.
I mean, we're kind of learning on the fly.
Yeah.
But if it is seeded and say they get 24th, they're going to have to play like Atalanta, Bayer Leverkusen, Aston Villa, one of those kind of teams.
Yeah. Some tough teams.
Not the easiest.
Bayern.
Yeah. I mean, Bayern, oh my goodness, they collapsed the other day against Feyenoord, 3-0. And the one that I thought we were going to see a crazier comeback, Real Madrid up 5-0. Salzburg gets one back in the 85th minute. And then the final whistle goes, and they lose 5-1. I was hopeful.
You're hopeful for the
Hopeful for a crazy 5-0 comeback in the last 10 minutes.
Hey, we had that Barca game, though.
Oh, my goodness. I think we have usually this is – yes, we need to talk about that. That was, I think, the best game I've seen in years.
With some of the flukiest goals as well.
Yes.
Rafinha's header is the flukiest goal I have seen in a long time.
So bad. Tell the people what it was like for those who didn't see it.
Yeah, so I forget what his name is, but the Benfica keeper goes to kick it out. It just line drives it right into Rafinha's head, who basically ducks and turtles it because he's getting hit in the head, and then it bounces into the goal from damn near 25 yards.
Yeah. It was one hell of a strike. Let's put it that way.
What a finish.
Oh,
touch, perfect.
And then at the other side of things, shout out to Vangelis Pavlidis. 30-minute hat trick for Benfica to put them up 3-1 before halftime. We get to the second half, but that second goal he had, the ball was played over the top, and sure enough, I can't remember which defender was it. Was it Araujo? Oh, it was
coming in from left back to cover.
Yeah, him and Szczesny just slam right into each other, fall down. The ball bounces. The guy looks at us like, "Oh, I'm gonna just put this one away real quick."
Walked it in.
It was so bad,
comically bad.
Couple penalties as well. Pavida's hat trick goal, his third one was a penalty. Lewandowski had a pair of penalties. Yet somehow Barcelona from 4-2 down after an own goal as well was put into that. Gotta throw the other chaos in. Lewandowski gets his second penalty. Eric Garcia levels it up. And then Rafinha, where they, after a beautiful pass from Ferran Torres down the right side, cuts back
in, bro.
Cuts in, hits it near post, and more or less the last kick of the game. Barcelona win 5-4. If you didn't watch this one, go back and watch the highlights.
Yeah.
So worth watching. Any other thoughts or anything you want to touch on the Champions League before we kind of move ahead and look at some matches this upcoming weekend?
Let's hop into this upcoming weekend.
And it's another one that's not the most exciting. We do have a marquee matchup, 2 top 4 teams. That is, or I guess technically speaking, 2 top 5 teams. But Chelsea going to Man City, that is our match of the week. That's where we will kick it off. What are you expecting to see? Because we talked about Chelsea looking a little bit comfortable recently. They've had their ups, their downs a bit, but they took care of business against Wolves. Also want to just put out there Bournemouth drew with them, beat Newcastle, and then have Forest and Liverpool. That is a brutally tough 4-game stretch.
Yeah.
But Chelsea have been looking decent as of late. Man City, we just talked about their collapse in the midweek. What are you expecting from this one?
I don't know. That's the kind of feeling I have.
That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah, I don't know. Because City looks like they've maybe started to pick it up in the league. And it could just be recency bias because they beat the hell out of Ipswich 6-0. And Chelsea also, like, they had their struggles and they finally get the win against Wolves. So you kind of feel positive about both these teams, but they both played teams near or around the bottom 3, right? So I don't know if you can entirely gauge how it's going to go into this. It's just kind of tough to figure out because Chelsea for a while was killing it, and then they had their stretch where they couldn't figure it out, look like, and then they finally get the win, so maybe they're back. City, it's just up and down all year. Sometimes they look like the City team we all know and love if you're a City fan and despise if you're anyone else, like they did against Ipswich, and then they go and fall apart midweek against PSG 2-0. I wonder what the reaction is going to be from that game. I think that's going to be the determiner. Are they shocked or are they pissed off? I still think Chelsea scores. I'll say that. I think Chelsea will score because City's back line, again, time and time again, has shown that they can't defend. They can't keep the ball back.
Jackson has 2 guarantees on this show whenever we do picks. Man City will concede at least 1, and Southampton will lose.
Always.
Always and forever this season.
Hammer it. They will concede. But with them at home, I think you'll see a positive reaction from the PSG game. I do think they'll win 2-1. But again, I'm not confident about this at all because you just don't know what to expect with City in a lot of games. Sometimes they come out gangbusters like they did last weekend. Other times they blow 2-0 leads. And I know PSG is a very good team. They're on the road, but you can't give up a 2-0 lead. We talked about it with Arsenal earlier. It's the same thing here.
And we talk about how Man City hasn't really kept many clean sheets. They have 2 recently, but it was Salford, who they beat 8-0, and Ipswich they beat 6-0.
Yeah.
They did open the season with a clean sheet away to Chelsea, 2-0 there, with Haaland and Kovacic getting the 2 goals. I do agree with you. I think they will concede, but it's more because I like what Chelsea's been doing attacking-wise, and they seem like they're getting a little better. Hopefully, I think Cole Palmer's been out for a couple matches. He'll be back for this one, from what I've read. I expect Chelsea to score, but I expect Man City to win, like 2-1 or maybe even 3-1, just because they need to. It's not even that they're necessarily a better team. It's they have to win this game.
Yeah.
Just to save some pride, save some face, because you lose this and say you don't get the win against Bruges somehow next week.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rough flight back from Belgium.
Dire straits if they end up in that situation.
Or I guess they're at home, not going to Belgium. But and then they play Arsenal the week after. So, or the weekend after. So it's
at Arsenal as well.
Yeah. A tough time being a Man City fan, but I don't feel too bad for you if you
either.
But the 4 in a row wasn't enough for you. Treble in the mix. Everything has to fall at one point. Look at what happened with the Man U dynasty.
Yeah.
Where they are now.
Yeah. I mean, that's an extreme case, but.
Oh, agreed. But it was also, did you see what Miriam said I think it was last week or earlier this week about this might be the worst Man U team in history at the moment? I don't know if that's actually true. I saw it on Twitter. So take it with a grain of salt. It could have been just someone throwing some random nonsense out there. But if it was true, he's not wrong, I don't think. This team is
at least in recent history for sure.
This team has been diabolically bad. Moving on to, as like we said, it's not the most exciting weekend, but this is one that could be a damn good game. For Nottingham Forest, tied second in the table, going to Bournemouth, who, as we said earlier, 7th in the table, riding high. For as little as I know about the Man City and Chelsea match, everything about this one is gone out the window after what Bournemouth did this weekend against Newcastle. I was ready to come in and say, okay, Forest, definitely a better team. Been more on a hot streak. Kind of have that vibe going with them that they're going to win these games. And then Bournemouth comes out and does 4-1 against Newcastle. And now I'm at a loss of words. I think this will be a very, very fun match. I think it'll be rather high scoring. I'm edging Forest 3-2, but that's because I think Chris Wood will be a difference maker in this one. I think he will get a brace. He will use his physicality. And whereas Isak for Newcastle, he's not the most physical striker in the world. He's more quick, skilled with the ball. Chris Wood is going to bully you, and I think that's the difference maker here.
I like that shout. Also worth noting that Bournemouth in their last 9 league meetings with Forest are unbeaten, going all the way back to the championship in 2015. So it's been a long stretch. And I don't see it getting to 10. I think Forest, I just love how they move offensively, right? Defensively, they've been solid too, but they can score goals. And like you said, Chris Wood, difference maker right there. I also think other guys like Morgan Gibbs-White, Alonga, all these other guys, they're good going forward. And I think that'll be the difference. I like your shout that it's going to be a high-scoring game because I was also thinking 3-2.
Okay.
For as impressed as I've been with Forest defense this year, Bournemouth offensively has been very solid as well. I've seen plenty of games where guys are just banging in goals. Kluivert can do it. Semenyo can do it. Evander, when he's healthy and playing, can do it. So they're very good going forward. I think they will score.
And you look back at the first one, it was a 86th minute equalizer from Semenyo just to steal a point for Bournemouth. After they were somewhat not dominated, but they were outplayed.
Yeah.
The first 85 minutes of that game. So just wanted to throw that one out there.
So I do think they'll score goals. I meant to say Evan Nielsen rather than Evander. But I just think Forrest is going to score more. I like the Chris Wood shout. I think he gets on the score sheet. Other guys do as well. The 3-2 scoreline seems appropriate for me. But again, this is one that could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Bournemouth win and win by multiple goals. Or if Forest were going to do it, I wouldn't be that surprised. It kind of is one of those games looking at it where whatever happens, you can see it realistically happening. As 0-0, as far-fetched as that might be, again, I could see it happening.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like you said, it's been a weird series where Forest just, no matter how good or how bad they are, they just seem to collapse when they play Bournemouth.
Yeah.
This could be very much one of those. I could see it being 0-0. I could see it being like a 5-4 match, as I said, 3-2. I just don't know what Bournemouth team's going to show up. We've seen what Forest has done all season. Bournemouth has been so up and down, and recently they've been on the up. They haven't lost a competitive match, since, when was it? November 23rd. So 2 full months ago. They lost 2-1 to Brighton. Since then, they have not lost a single match, which is remarkable across all competitions. But that's got to end at some point, you would think.
You'd think, right?
No, but any final thoughts on this one?
I think we're just in for a good game. I think our predictions could be wildly off, but I think what will happen is this will be a good game, no matter what happens.
Yep. I think we've had our predictions go haywire before. This is one that we could be spot on, and we could be as far from the spot on as possible. But
yeah.
With that being said, are there any other matches you want to do a little dive into? Because otherwise I'm going to start like previews and predictions if you want to just knock those out, because we are a little over the end already.
Yeah, we went a long time going on about Champions League stuff. Let's hit into the predictions.
Sounds good to me. So let's kick it off Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern time matches. We already talked about Bournemouth and Forest. Brighton hosting Everton. Do the Toffees get it done?
No.
No,
I don't see it happening. Again, I'm inclined to oftentimes pick against Everton. I'm sorry. My internet just cut out again. Which game are we talking about?
Everton, Brighton.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just needed to make sure I wasn't just off on something random. Yeah, okay. For a second, I got nervous. Yeah, no, go Brighton. Again, more often than not, pick it against Everton. They've shown some positive signs recently. Obviously, the victory against Tottenham's a big one, but I still think Brighton's a better team. They're at home as well. Give me Brighton. Give me 2-0.
I like that shout. I'm going 2-1 Brighton. I do think they're the better team. They have been drawing a lot. They have won their last 3 since then, though. So I could see this being a tight one where they play a little bit down to their opposition. We saw them lose to Fulham. We saw them lose to Crystal Palace. But they seem to tend to beat these kind of teams. They beat Everton 3-0 at Goodison Park. I'm expecting 2-1. I just think it'll be too much for them. Liverpool Ipswich. Does Liverpool beat what Man City did and beat them by more than 6 goals?
They win. I think they win pretty comfortably. I don't think they get 6. I feel like 6 is kind of not an anomaly, but more of an outlier in the Premier League, because at the end of the day, they're all Premier League caliber players. So give me 4-0 though.
Okay. I like that shot. I was going to go 3-0. I think Mo Salah balls out. I don't think we see Liverpool needing 37 shots and 2 in stoppage time to get this one done. As we said earlier, I'm assuming I have a guess of who you're going to pick in Newcastle when they take on Southampton down.
Yeah, we don't even need to ask me. Go Newcastle. Give me 3-0.
I'm going 2-0. I think Isak scores, and Southampton has 1 win all season, who I can't even picture who that was against. Everton.
There you go.
We'll have it. Southampton's better than Everton, which isn't saying much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Newcastle, comfortable domination. This one for you. Wolves hosting Arsenal.
Yeah.
Our Wolves just played Chelsea, lost 3-1. Saw what Arsenal did in Champions League midweek. What are you expecting in this one? And do you think your boys get it done?
I think so, but I don't think it's comfortable. I just had that feeling going in. I think it ends up 2-1 final. I see it being a game Arsenal's up 2-0. Wolves gets a late goal, and it is frenetic until the very end. Yeah, I think we'll get it done though. Wolves not the best team in the league. Arsenal has got better players. Again, obviously missing Saka still, but I think someone else will step up. We've seen other people step up. I think, yeah, Arsenal wins 2-1. I don't think it's a very comfortable 2-1 at all, though. Wolves gave us trouble at the Emirates to begin the season. I mean, they've got good enough players, right? Cunha is unbelievable. It's someone that Arsenal's interested in signing. He could be a problem. Juan could always be a problem. So I don't think it's super comfortable, but 2-1.
I'm going 1-0. I think it'll be one that Arsenal is just frustrated. I think they do win, but I think it's going to be one where Wolves kind of make it a living hell for them. And it's just a nightmare. They can't really find the back of the net, and someone will scrape a goal over at some point for Arsenal. I just think it'll be one of those ones that's just highly contested midfield. Arsenal will dominate possession, but Wolves will play a park the bus style just to try and salvage a point.
Yeah.
Considering they'll know that the team they're tied with in Ipswich is playing Liverpool.
Yeah.
So if they can get a point, that just gives them a little boost. I don't think they get a point, but I think it's a little closer than to be expected.
Yeah.
Moving on to Sunday, as we already talked about, Man City and Chelsea, which is the 12:30 kickoff Eastern time on Saturday afternoon. To Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern time, Crystal Palace hosting Brentford. I don't know on this one. This is one I see draw written all over.
Mm-hmm.
This might be my draw of the week. I'm going to go 0-0. No, I'll go 1-1. But
well, yeah, both these teams are right on top of each other in the standings.
Yep.
Palace, I remember at the beginning of the year, we just thought Palace was terrible, and then they picked it up, started playing really well.
Yeah.
Getting some results. Brentford, I feel like, has been pretty consistent with what they've done all season, right around between 8th and 12th, just kind of in that range. At Palace, I think this is going to be a draw for me.
Yeah.
I'm going 1-1.
I
know it could be high scoring with Brentford playing, but I'm just feeling 1-1. That feels right to me. No matter what, though, scoreline, I think a draw is the most appropriate result. Just looking at who these two teams are, how they've been playing, it feels appropriate to have a draw.
Yeah, that's what I was saying there. I'm right there with you. This is draw. This is a match that's a draw. With that being said, we're both on board with it. It's probably going to be
game of the friggin' week.
Yeah.
5-4 finish.
Yeah. Some Barcelona, Benfica.
Yeah.
Chaos. Tottenham hosting Leicester, two teams somewhat close to the relegation zone. In one case in Tottenham, Leicester is in the relegation zone. And the news on this one that I wanted to bring up is Ruud van Nistelrooy has already kind of hinting that he might resign. Leicester have lost 7 in a row in the league. He was promised he was going to be able to sign some players this transfer window. Nothing has happened for him. This could be the nail in the coffin if they get smacked about. They've lost 2-0 in their last 2 matches. Do you see it being 2-0 or worse or better in this one as they go to White Hart Lane?
I think 2-0 is what I was thinking, to be completely honest, for Tottenham. It's got to turn around eventually, right? And this is the game to do it. Yep. A team that, as you said, have lost 7 straight. They've got a manager who, if that's out there, he's already thinking about moving on, right? Mm-hmm. That thought's already there. It's a different element when that thought suddenly creeps in. So I think this is one Tottenham will take advantage of because they have to. If you're going to get it going again, you have to do it in a game like this with a team that's struggling. They've been worse than you, a manager who's already hinting at the fact that he could be on his way out. I think this has to be one Tottenham takes advantage of, and I think it is one they will take advantage of and get that win that they need to get things turning again in their favor. Because right now, 15th place with only 24 points has been horrible. So I think they'll get it going and they'll win.
I agree. I think they win this one comfortably. They're currently playing Hoffenheim, who is 15th out of 18 teams in the Bundesliga. That's one team who's in the mix of a relegation battle, and it's 2-0 Tottenham in Germany. I'm taking Tottenham to do the same sort of thing. I'm taking them to win 4-1, personally. I think they have a coming out party, and it just looks like the Tottenham we expected to see this season. And I think they batter Leicester.
Yeah.
Moving on to the last 2, Aston Villa, West Ham, Villa being the home side.
Yeah. Give me Villa. Give me Villa. Give me 2-0. I've loved that scoreline today, but still haven't I think more positive things will come for West Ham, but not in this game. Mm-hmm. I think Villa is stronger. They're so good at home. Give me 2-0.
Yeah, and Villa's already clinched a spot to move in forward in the Champions League. They just kind of need to win to make sure they get the bye.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they'll have any kind of – they'll look past this one at all, but –
maybe, yeah.
I have it 2-1 Villa. I just think that West Ham will find a way to score, and there will be a little lapse here and there. But overall, Villa's the better team, better players. They gel better as well. So
yeah.
And last but not least, Fulham hosting Man United. I know where I want to go with this. I know who I'm going to go with this, and it's not Man U.
No, it's not, and neither am I. I'm going 3-1 Fulham.
3-1 Fulham. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going 3-1 Fulham. I'm feeling that scoreline here. Again, could be completely off pace. It's usually how this goes, but Fulham, I like what they do offensively. Man U, I don't like what they do defensively. Man U, I don't like what they do offensively. But I do think they'll find a way to get one. It seems like they always find a way to get one, even if it is a penalty goal. Mm-hmm. But I think at the Craven Cottage, tough place to play with a Fulham team that has had some very good performances there. I'm going 3-1.
I don't hate that shout. I'm just going to put this out there. The last time Fulham beat Man U at Craven Cottage was 2009.
Whew.
They did it twice in that calendar year. Once was in the 08-09 season, and then once in the 9-10 season.
Okay.
They won 2-0 and then 3-0. So they're due.
They're due.
They are due for something. I'm taking Fulham. I'm taking 2-0. I think Man U struggles to find the back of the net once again, and Onana makes a drastic mistake.
Yeah.
With that being said, do you have any final thoughts, any closing words of wisdom that you want to get off your chest before we wrap this up?
Don't trust your home Wi-Fi. That's all we got because
Here we go.
nothing but technical glitches today. But excited about this weekend. Hopefully, we'll see some good stuff.
Yeah, I have my mind set on Monday. Monday afternoon's the big game of the week. Burnley, second in the championship, hosting Leeds, top of the table. I have no confidence in Leeds in this one. It's crazy. Burnley has played, 28 matches. They've conceded 9 goals in 28 league matches. Talk about a defensive juggernaut.
Yeah.
Where was that last year, Vincent Kompany? Now he's just losing 3-0 to Feyenoord with Bayern Munich.
The man failed upward more than anyone I've ever seen.
I still cannot believe that.
Failed upward.
This dude gets sacked by Burnley as they get relegated and gets the Bayern Munich job.
Failed upward. It's crazy. I mean, he's actually doing a pretty good job in the league. So I guess I'm giving him credit for that. But, yeah, failed upward nonetheless.
Yeah. So there we have it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you click that subscribe button and so you don't miss any of our episodes. And we will see you guys next week.